The world stopped when Lily's tiny hand tugged at Elena's sleeve, her 4-year-old voice trembling with a secret too heavy for her small heart. "Mommy, I saw her again," she whispered, wide brown eyes darting toward the park's edge, where shadows clung to the trees. Elena, a retired Special Forces captain, felt her pulse spike, her instincts screaming that this was no childish game. Elena knelt, her leather jacket creaking, and brushed a curl from Lily's face. The park in their small New England town was quiet, the kind of place where autumn leaves crunched underfoot and neighbors waved from porches. But Lily's words, fragile yet urgent, cracked that illusion like glass. "Who, sweetheart?" Elena asked, her voice steady despite the dread pooling in her gut. Lily pointed to a figure half hidden by an oak, a woman whose silhouette felt both foreign and hauntingly familiar. Elena's breath caught. She knew that stance, that tilt of the head. Sarah, the woman she'd loved and lost 5 years ago. Before Lily, before everything changed. 5 years earlier, Elena had been a different woman. Captain Elena Voss, Special Forces, all sharp edges and unyielding resolve. She'd met Sarah Harper at a dive bar in Boston, a chance encounter that turned into stolen nights and whispered promises. Sarah, a photographer with a laugh like sunlight, softened Elena's guarded heart. They were fire and water, fierce and gentle, until a mission pulled Elena away. She'd promised to return, but war didn't care about promises. A roadside bomb left her scarred physically and otherwise, and when she came back, Sarah was gone, leaving no trace, no note, only silence. Now Elena stood frozen, Lily's hand in hers, watching Sarah step into the open. Her blonde hair was longer, her face etched with something new, pain, maybe regret. "Elena," Sarah said, her voice a soft wound. The park faded. The world was just them, two women tethered by a past they couldn't outrun. Lily tugged again, oblivious to the storm brewing in her mother's heart. "She's the lady from my dreams, Mommy." Elena's training kicked in. She scanned the park, empty benches, a jogger in the distance, no immediate threats. But Sarah's presence was a threat in itself, not to her safety, but to the walls she built around her heart. "Stay here, Lily," she said, guiding her daughter to a bench. She pulled out her phone, her thumb hovering over a number she hadn't called in years, her old unit's emergency line. Not yet, she thought. She needed answers first. Sarah approached, her steps hesitant, her blue eyes searching Elena's. "I didn't know how to find you," she said, voice breaking. "I didn't know if you'd want me to." Elena wanted to scream, to demand why Sarah vanished, why she'd left her to grieve a love she thought was dead. But Lily was watching, and the weight of her daughter's words, "the lady from my dreams," hung heavy. How did Lily know Sarah? What was this secret her daughter carried? "I'm not here to hurt you," Sarah said, glancing at Lily with a tenderness that made Elena's chest ache. "But there's something you need to know." She stepped closer, her scent lavender and cedar flooding Elena with memories of nights tangled in sheets, of promises made under starlight. "It's about Lily. And us." Elena's hand tightened on her phone. Every instinct screamed to call for backup, to protect her daughter from whatever storm Sarah brought. But her heart, that traitor, wanted to listen. She'd spent 5 years burying her love for Sarah, convincing herself it was gone. Now with one look it roared back to life, fierce and unrelenting. "Talk," Elena said, her voice low, a soldier's command masking a lover's plea. Sarah nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Not here," she whispered, glancing at the trees. "Somewhere safe." Elena's gaze followed hers, catching a flicker of movement, a shadow that didn't belong. Her Special Forces instincts flared. Someone was watching. She scooped Lily into her arms, her daughter's small body grounding her. "We're leaving," she said, her tone final. Sarah nodded, falling into step beside her. As they moved toward the car, Elena's mind raced. Sarah's return, Lily's secret, the shadow in the tree sit was all connected, and she'd be damned if she let it unravel her family. She glanced at Sarah, their eyes locking for a moment, and felt the old pull, the love she'd never escaped. Whatever came next, she'd face it like she always had. Head on, no surrender. Elena's truck roared down the quiet streets of their town, the engine's growl a stark contrast to the silence between her and Sarah. Lily sat in the back, humming softly, her tiny fingers clutching a stuffed rabbit. Elena's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror, scanning for tails, her training a reflex she couldn't shake. Sarah sat rigid in the passenger seat, her hands knotted in her lap, her gaze fixed on the road ahead. The air was thick with unspoken questions, each one a landmine waiting to detonate. "Where are we going?" Sarah finally asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Elena didn't answer immediately. She was still processing the sight of Sarah, alive and real, after years of believing she'd vanished into the ether. The woman she'd loved, the woman she'd mourned, was sitting inches away, and yet the distance between them felt like miles. "Somewhere we can talk," Elena said at last, turning onto a dirt road leading to her cabin, a secluded spot she'd bought after retiring. It was her sanctuary, her fortress, and now it was the only place she trusted. The cabin came into view, nestled among pines, its weathered wood blending into the autumn dusk. Elena parked and carried Lily inside, the girl's head resting on her shoulder. Sarah followed, her footsteps hesitant, as if she knew she was stepping into a life she'd abandoned. Inside, the cabin was sparse but warm wooden floors, a stone fireplace, photos of Lily on the walls. Elena set her daughter down on the couch, where Lily curled up, eyelids drooping. "She's exhausted," Elena said, more to herself than to Sarah. Sarah knelt beside Lily, her fingers brushing the girl's curls with a tenderness that made Elena's heart twist. "She's beautiful," Sarah murmured. "She looks like you." Elena's jaw tightened. She wanted to snap, to demand why Sarah thought she had the right to say that, but the sight of her daughter's peaceful face stopped her. Instead, she crossed her arms and leaned against the wall. "Start talking, Sarah. What's this about Lily? And why are you here now?" Sarah stood, her eyes meeting Elena's with a mix of fear and resolve. "I didn't leave because I wanted to," she said, her voice shaking. "I was forced to." Elena's brow furrowed, but she stayed silent, letting Sarah continue. "After you deployed, I got a call. A man's voice, no name, no trace. He said you were in danger not just from the war but from something bigger. He told me to disappear, to cut all ties, or they'd come for you. For us." Elena's blood ran cold. Her years in special forces had taught her about threats that didn't make the news: shadowy groups, covert ops, enemies who played long games. "You expect me to believe you ghosted me because of a phone call?" she asked, her voice sharp but wavering. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "I didn't know what else to do, Elena. I was terrified. I loved you so much, and I thought leaving would keep you safe." The room spun. Elena gripped the wall, her soldier's composure cracking. She wanted to hate Sarah, to cling to the anger that had fueled her through lonely nights. But the pain in Sarah's voice, the raw honesty, was a knife to her defenses. "And Lily?" Elena asked, her voice barely audible. "What does this have to do with her?" Sarah glanced at the sleeping girl, her expression a mix of love and dread. "The man who called me. He knew about her before I even told you I was pregnant. He said she was special, that she'd be watched. I didn't understand then, but now," she broke off, her breath hitching. "Lily's been seeing me in her dreams, hasn't she? She told me things she couldn't possibly know. About me, about us." Elena's heart pounded. Lily's dreams had always been vivid, full of details no 4-year-old should conjure: places, faces, even fragments of Elena's past missions. She chalked it up to imagination, but now with Sarah's words doubt crept in. "What are you saying?" Elena asked, stepping closer, her voice low and urgent. "That someone's targeting my daughter?" Sarah nodded, tears spilling over. "I think they've been watching her all along. That's why I came back. I saw something in Bostona file with Lily's name, your name, and mine. It was in a law firm's office, one I was freelancing for. I don't know who they are, but they're powerful, Elena. And they're close." Elena's mind raced, piecing together fragments of her past missions gone wrong, contacts who vanished, whispers of a shadow network she'd never fully uncovered. She glanced at Lily, her daughter's chest rising and falling softly. The thought of anyone threatening her child ignited a fire in her veins. "We need to move," she said, her voice steel. "If they're watching, this cabin isn't safe." Sarah reached for her hand, a gesture so familiar it hurt. "I'm with you," she said. "I never stopped loving you, Elena. I know I broke us, but I'm here now. For you. For her." Elena pulled her hand away, the touch too much, too soon. But her eyes lingered on Sarah's, and for a moment, the world was just them again. Two women bound by love and loss. Outside, a twig snapped. Elena's head whipped toward the window. The pines were still, but her instincts screamed. She grabbed her old service pistol from a locked drawer, her movements swift and silent. "Stay with Lily," she told Sarah, her voice a command. As she moved toward the door, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She glanced at the screen, a single text from an unknown number. "We see you." Her blood turned to ice. Backup wasn't coming. She was on her own. Elena crouched by the window, her pistol steady, her eyes scanning the darkness beyond the cabin. The text "We see you" burned in her mind, a taunt from an enemy she couldn't yet name. Sarah sat beside Lily, her hand resting protectively on the girl's shoulder, her face pale but resolute. The air was thick with tension, every creak of the cabin a potential threat. "Elena," Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible. "What do we do?" Elena didn't answer immediately. Her training had taught her to trust her gut, and right now it was screaming that they were running out of time. She glanced at Lily, still asleep, oblivious to the storm closing in. Elena's heart ached with a fierce primal need to protect her daughter, but Sarah's presence complicated everything. Love, betrayal, and danger tangled together, and she couldn't afford to let her emotions cloud her judgment. "We need to get to a safe house," Elena said, her voice low. "I know a place off-grid about 2 hours from here. Old Special Forces contact runs it." She hesitated, then added, "But we can't stay here. They know where we are." Sarah nodded, her eyes wide with fear but steady with trust. It was a look Elena hadn't seen in years, one that made her heart stutter even as her mind stayed sharp. She moved to the kitchen, grabbing a go-bag she'd kept packed since her military days: passports, cash, a burner phone, and a spare clip for her pistol. "Pack light," she told Sarah. "Just what Lily needs." Sarah obeyed, gathering Lily's blanket and rabbit while Elena rigged a quick perimeter alarm with fishing line and bells, a trick from her field days. If anyone approached, they'd know. As they prepared to leave, Lily stirred, her small voice cutting through the silence. "Mommy, the lady said we have to hurry." Elena froze, her hand on the door. "What lady, sweetheart?" she asked, kneeling beside her daughter. Lily's eyes were wide, unfocused, like she was seeing something beyond the room. "The one from my dreams. She said they're coming." Elena's stomach dropped. She exchanged a glance with Sarah, whose face mirrored her own dread. Lily's dreams weren't just imagination, they were warnings, pieces of a puzzle Elena didn't yet understand. She scooped Lily into her arms, her daughter's warmth grounding her. "We're going, baby," she said, her voice firm. "You're safe with me." They slipped out the back, moving silently through the pines. Elena led, her pistol ready, Sarah close behind with Lily. The night was cold, the air sharp with the scent of pine and damp earth. Every shadow felt alive, every rustle a threat. Elena's senses were razor-sharp, honed by years of missions where hesitation meant death. She scanned the trees, her mind racing through possibilities: Exia, private contractors, or something worse. Whoever they were, they wanted Lily, and that made them her enemy. Halfway to the truck, the bells rang. Elena's heart lurched. She signaled for Sarah to crouch, pulling them behind a tree. Footsteps crunched in the distance, deliberate and heavy. At least 2, maybe 3. She whispered to Sarah, "Stay low. If I say run, you take Lily and go. Don't look back." Sarah's hand gripped hers, a silent promise, and Elena felt a surge of something she couldn't name: love, fear, or both. The footsteps stopped. A low whistle cut through the night, a signal. Elena's training took over. She crept forward, using the trees for cover, her pistol raised. In the moonlight, she saw them: 2 men, black tactical gear, moving toward the cabin. Professionals, not amateurs. Her mind flashed to the file Sarah mentioned, the one with their names. This wasn't random. This was targeted. She circled back to Sarah and Lily, her decision made. "We can't get to the truck," she whispered. "There's a trail to the river. We'll lose them there." Sarah nodded, her face set with determination. They moved quickly, Lily clinging to Sarah's chest, her small body trembling but silent. The river was a mile away, its rush a faint hum in the distance. If they could reach it, they could disappear. As they ran, Sarah's voice broke the silence. "Elena, I'm sorry. For everything." Her words were breathless, raw. "I thought I was protecting you by leaving. I was wrong." Elena didn't respond, her focus on the path ahead. But Sarah's words sank into her, stirring the embers of a love she'd tried to bury. She wanted to forgive, to let herself feel, but survival came first. The river loomed ahead, its waters glinting under the moon. Elena slowed, scanning for a crossing. Behind them, a shout echoed, "They'd been spotted." Her pulse surged. She grabbed Sarah's hand, pulling her toward the shallows. "We cross here," she said. "Hold Lily tight." As they waded into the icy water, Elena glanced back, her eyes locking with Sarah's. For a moment the world was still, and all she saw was the woman she'd never stopped loving. A gunshot cracked the night. Elena ducked, shoving Sarah and Lily down. The enemy was closing in and time was running out. The river's icy grip soaked Elena's boots, but she barely felt it. Her focus was razor-sharp, every sense tuned to the threat behind them. The gunshot still echoed in her ears, a warning that their pursuers were closer than she'd hoped. Sarah clutched Lily, her face pale but fierce, water dripping from her hair as they waded deeper. "Keep moving," Elena hissed, her pistol scanning the bank they'd left behind. Shadows moved in the trees, 3 figures now, spreading out to flank them. "Mommy, I'm cold," Lily whimpered, her voice small against the river's roar. Elena's heart clenched, but she couldn't stop. "I know, baby," she said, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her. "We're almost there." She guided Sarah toward a cluster of rocks on the far bank, a natural barrier that could buy them time. Her mind raced through options: fight, hide, or keep running. Fighting meant risking Lily. Hiding was a gamble. Running was their only shot. They reached the rocks, crouching low. Elena scanned the opposite bank, her training kicking in. The men were professionals, silent, coordinated, likely ex-military or worse. She spotted a glint of metal, a scope. "Sniper." Her stomach twisted. "Sarah," she whispered, "take Lily and stay down. If I don't come back, head north. There's a gas station 10 miles up. Ask for Mike. He's an old friend." Sarah's eyes widened, her hand grabbing Elena's arm. "You're not doing this alone," she said, her voice fierce despite the tremble. "We're in this together." Elena wanted to argue to keep Sarah and Lily safe, but the look in Sarah's eyes, raw, unyielding, stopped her. It was the same look she'd fallen in love with, the one that said Sarah would fight for her, for them no matter the cost. A twig snapped nearby. Elena's head whipped around, her pistol raised. One of the men was too close. She signaled for Sarah to stay silent, then crept forward, using the rocks for cover. Her heart pounded, but her hands were steady, muscle memory from years of combat. She spotted him. Tall, bearded, moving with the precision of someone who'd done this before. She aimed, her finger on the trigger, but hesitated. Killing him would confirm their location. She needed another way. She grabbed a stone and tossed it into the river, the splash drawing his attention. He turned and she moved, silent as a ghost, closing the distance. In one fluid motion she disarmed him, her arm locking around his throat. "Who sent you?" she hissed, her voice low and lethal. He struggled, but she tightened her grip. "Talk or you're done." "Vanguard," he gasped, his voice strained. "They want the girl." Elena's blood ran cold. Vanguard, a name she'd heard in whispers during her service. A shadowy group tied to black ops and corporate greed. She knocked him out with a swift blow, binding his wrists with his own belt. One down, but the others were still out there. She returned to Sarah and Lily, her mind racing. Vanguard's involvement meant this was bigger than she'd feared. Lily wasn't just a target. She was a key. But to what? Sarah's earlier words echoed. "They knew about her before I told you I was pregnant." The thought made Elena's skin crawl. She looked at Lily, curled against Sarah, and felt a surge of protectiveness. No one would touch her daughter. "We need to move," Elena said, helping Sarah to her feet. "They're not stopping." Sarah nodded, her eyes locked on Elena's, a silent vow passing between them. As they started north, Elena's phone buzzed again. Another text. "You can't run forever." She ignored it, her focus on the path ahead, but the words burrowed into her. This wasn't just about escape, Anna Marie, it was about uncovering the truth. The gas station came into view at dawn, a flickering neon sign in the mist. Mike, her old squad mate, was there, his grizzled face softening when he saw Elena. "Trouble?" he asked, glancing at Sarah and Lily. "Always," Elena replied, managing a grim smile. She filled him in, keeping her voice low so Lily wouldn't hear. Mike's expression darkened at the mention of Vanguard. "They're bad news," he said. "I've got a safe house, but you'll need more than that to take them down." Elena nodded, her resolve hardening. She looked at Sarah, who was braiding Lily's hair, their heads bent close. The sight stirred something deep in Hera, longing for the life they could have had, the family they might still be. "We'll fight," she told Mike. "But first, I need to know why they want my daughter." Sarah looked up, her eyes meeting Elena's. "We'll figure it out," she said, her voice steady. "Together." For the first time in years, Elena believed her. As they loaded into Mike's truck, the horizon glowed with the promise of a new day and a battle they couldn't avoid. The safe house was a weathered farmhouse, hidden in the rolling hills of Vermont, its isolation a shield against the world. Elena stood at the window, her pistol tucked into her waistband, watching the horizon for any sign of pursuit. Lily was upstairs, coloring with Sarah, her laughter a fragile thread of normalcy in a world turned upside down. Elena's heart ached at the sound, but her mind was elsewhere, piecing together the fragments of Vanguard's plan. Mike had dug up what he could, a dossier on Vanguard, a conglomerate with ties to military contracts and off-the-books experiments. The file Sarah had seen in Boston mentioned Project Oracle, a cryptic reference to enhanced perception. Elena's gut twisted as she remembered Lily's dreams, her uncanny ability to know things she shouldn't. Was her daughter part of some experiment? The thought made her want to tear Vanguard apart with her bare hands. Sarah joined her, her presence a quiet comfort. "Lily's asking for you," she said, her voice soft. Elena turned, meeting Sarah's eyes, and for a moment, the weight of the past 5 years fell away. "I don't know how to do this," Elena admitted, her voice raw. "Protect her, keep you safe, and deal with us." Sarah stepped closer, her hand brushing Elena's. "You don't have to do it alone," she said. "I'm here, Elena. I'm not leaving again." The words broke something in Elena, a dam she'd built to keep the pain at bay. She pulled Sarah into her arms, their lips meeting in a kiss that was both desperate and tender, a reclaiming of what they'd lost. For a moment, the world was just them, two women, flawed and fierce, bound by a love that had survived time and betrayal. Lily's giggle from upstairs pulled them apart, but the promise lingered. Mike burst in, his face grim. "We've got company," he said, nodding toward the window. Elena's heart sank as she spotted headlights in the distance, 3 SUVs, moving fast. Vanguard had found them. She grabbed her pistol, her training snapping into place. "Get Lily," she told Sarah. "There's a cellar. Lock yourselves in." Sarah hesitated, her eyes fierce. "We fight together," she said, echoing her earlier vow. Elena wanted to argue, but there was no time. She nodded and they ran upstairs to grab Lily. The girl clung to them, sensing the danger. "The lady says we'll be okay," she whispered, her voice eerily calm. Elena didn't question it this time. She trusted Lily's instinct, whatever it was. They barricaded the cellar, Mike taking point upstairs with his rifle. The SUVs screeched to a stop, and Elena heard boots on gravel, voices barking orders. She crouched by the cellar door, her pistol ready, Sarah and Lily behind her. The first shots rang out, Mike holding the line, but Elena knew they were outnumbered. Her mind raced for a plan, but Lily's small hand on her arm stopped her. "Mommy, tell them the truth," she said, her eyes clear and certain. Elena frowned, but Sarah gasped. "The file," she said. "It mentioned a whistleblower. If we can expose Vanguard, their operation falls apart." Elena's pulse quickened. It was a long shot, but it was something. She pulled out the burner phone, praying for a signal, and sent a coded message to her old "You need a Hail Mary" call for backup. If they could hold out long enough, help might come. The cellar door rattled, a muffled shout on the other side. Elena braced herself, her body shielding Sarah and Lily. The door burst open and she fired, dropping the first man. Chaos erupted, gunfire, shouts, the roar of an engine outside. Mike was still fighting, but they were losing ground. Elena's heart pounded, her world narrowing to the two people behind her. She wouldn't let Vanguard take them. Then a miracle, sirens in the distance, growing louder. Her message had gotten through. The attackers faltered, then retreated, their SUVs peeling away as helicopters buzzed overhead. Elena's knees buckled, relief flooding her. She turned to Sarah and Lily, pulling them close, their warmth anchoring her. Days later, the truth came out. Sarah's photos of the Vanguard file, combined with Elena's contacts, exposed Project Oraclea program using children like Lily for their unexplained abilities. The scandal rocked the nation, dismantling Vanguard's network. Elena, Sarah, and Lily moved to a new town, a fresh start. They weren't just a family, they were a team, bound by love and resilience. One evening, as Lily played in the yard, Elena and Sarah sat on the porch, their hands entwined. "We made it," Sarah said, her voice thick with emotion. Elena squeezed her hand, her heart full. "We did," she replied. "And we'll keep fighting. For her. For us." The sunset painted the sky in hues of hope, and for the first time, Elena believed in a future where love could conquer all. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.